because my mom was on drugs and because of the crack epidemic, and I had aunties that were smokers, uncles that were doing big, like large amounts of prisons. I was actually talking to somebody about this. My background, like I come from a family of like people who have been to jail and like who are in jail. When I moved to that part of town, I no longer had a mom essentially because her addiction
Kind of
really took her to the bathroom, you know, and then I was kind of, you know, raising myself.
Welcome to Pesci's Recovery Corner. This is a recovery podcast where we talk about all things recovery. Recovery from what? Recovery from drugs, from alcoholism, and from mental health. We have all different types of people that come on this recovery podcast, people that are in the recovery process, and sometimes professionals that work in the field on the front lines. Before we get started, if you are watching us on YouTube on Pesci Interventions, please subscribe, please like, please share, and please comment as much as you possibly can, and let's get the word out. Today we have a very special guest. Her name is Raven. Welcome to the corner, Raven.
Thank you.
I've been knowing you for a few years.
It's been a while.
Yeah, it's been a while. Yeah. We want to learn about you, Raven. So where are you from? Where were you born, raised, all that?
I'm from Los Angeles, California.
Okay.
But let me clarify. I grew up in Silver Lake, Los Feliz, Atwater, Echo Park.
I know the area.
Yeah, then moved to South Central, 39th and Normandy to be exact. Then to Mid-City.
How old were you when you moved to South Central?
I was 14 and a half, I think. And that was by way of my mom's crack addiction. So my mom was, you know, I was raised in the music industry. And when we lived in Silver Lake, she was tooting cocaine. And then she started rocking it up. The spoons went missing. And so I went from like living this like earthy kind of, you know, cool lifestyle, I'll say, to, you know, my mom being feral in a bathroom and me having to adjust to a neighborhood I hadn't been to. Although I'd been there, like, you know, I'm Black from Los Angeles and LA, and the experience of growing up as a city kid in LA is the city's segregated. So it wasn't that I hadn't been to South Central. My family lives in South Central. My dad's from Los Angeles. So that wasn't like a big deal. It was just that when I moved to that part of town, I no longer had a mom, essentially, because her addiction
kind of took her
to the bathroom, you know, and then I was kind of, you know, raising myself from 14.
But when you moved to South Central, was Dad in the picture or no?
No, Dad's never been in the picture.
Never been in the picture. Yeah, I mean, I know all the other places you named before. I love those areas, and now it's been a little bit cleaned up. It's a little different over there.
Well, it's gentrified. When my mom had me there, you know, she was like a rock star. She had a 1982 Land Cruiser. My mom's from Nashville, Tennessee. She moved to LA when she was 16. And so our Land Cruiser had Daytons, like our Land Cruiser had tweeters and woofers in it.
I love it.
My mom had me at 21. So she was just a lot of fun, wore Levi's. Her hair was really big.
Yeah.
You know, we had animals and she raised me in like a really cool part of town. Now it's expensive to live there, but back then it was kind of like raw.
It was affordable.
Yeah, it was affordable.
I know
and
Echo
then there
Park.
was culture.
Yeah.
So
didn't you tell me one time your mom kicked it with the likes of people like Tina Marie?
Yes.
Which is a goddess in my life.
Yes. She's my godmother, actually.
She's your godmother.
She passed away, but yeah.
Yeah,
Tina and Rick.
Okay.
Rick James.
Yeah, and Rick was all up in the crack.
Okay. Yeah, my childhood was, I like to say, drugs, sex, and R&B. Yeah, a lot of fun.
If she had you at 21, was she already using?
Yeah, she was using powder.
Okay.
Yeah, tooting a lot of blow. Like I remember just my memories where like cocaine came from the earth, ecstasy came from the earth, you know. Even on like tour and like when we would be on the road, you know, my god sister and I would like travel with drugs, like cocaine on us, and my mom would tell us like, you know, is it cool to cuss on here?
You can cuss all you want.
You know, I was taught like, okay, if you have drugs, you put them inside. How my mom put it, you put it up your pussy. Like you got to, you know, like my mom was like teaching us like how to like travel with shit, but we were like, you know, not in school, always on the road, always traveling, always in the studio. Always go. We were go kids.
Oh, nice. I love it. And you know who used to tour with Prince in the with Rick in the beginning was Prince.
I do. I have. Yeah.
And they had a rivalry.
Yes, they
They
did.
did not like each other.
No. There's stories about that.
There's a
Really
lot of
good
stuff.
stories.
I'm sure if Jill Jones is watching this, she probably was
I
around
know
too.
Jill.
You
I
know Jill. Yeah.
Of course.
She's the
and I
homie.
know Jill and I know her daughter.
Oh, nice. Yeah. Cool.
Uh-huh.
So growing up, was there any siblings besides you?
My dad had a kid, my older brother, but I'm the only child from my mother.
Okay, so you were always with mom.
I was always with mom.
But mom wasn't always present, but she was there.
She was there. I never got taken away.
Okay.
And I think that that's because I didn't want to be taken away. And from an early age, I just kind of had this drive in me to like make it look like it was okay at home. I just, and that's just kind of how the cards were dealt. I don't know. I just was always somewhat, maybe it's called being parentified. I just showed up for my mom in a way where we weren't going to get in trouble. And I think prior to her, the crack kind of taking her down, she would keep me out of school at a young age. And like, I'd have to go to the doctor and play sick or like do these things. So, we were kind of working as a team to keep each other out of trouble. And so when she kind of fell off, I had to pick up the pieces of the shit that she taught me to kind of keep it together. Yeah. So
was she, as you were growing up, were you active in school? Were you good in school? Did you even make it to school?
I did a bit. I made it to school until I couldn't anymore.
And how old was that when you couldn't anymore?
Second year of high school.
Okay. And then did you start getting into things?
Yeah. So my mom went to her first treatment center in 2006. And I think that's when I first tried. 2006, 2007 is when I first tried ecstasy.
Okay. That was your the first drug you tried?
No, the first drug I tried was weed.
Oh, of course.
Yeah, and then drinking.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then ecstasy. I fell in love with ecstasy. But because my mom was on drugs and because of the crack epidemic, and I had aunties that were smokers, uncles that were doing large amounts of prisons. I was actually talking to somebody about this. My background, I come from a family of people who have been to jail and who are in jail and who are in prison. It's like a natural thing.
Yes.
And usually it's because of drugs or I don't know, gang violent things and involvement in certain things in our neighborhood. So when I was younger, I was kind of afraid to get high. I didn't really, I wore glasses. I was kind of a little nerd, you know, I really wasn't interested. And when people were, it would scare me. I just knew that was bad.
Yeah. I mean, that was a lot of us.
Yeah.
We knew better.
Yeah.
There was fear.
I just knew that it was bad.
Yeah.
And I didn't, I used to have I was the oldest out of all the friends, Rick's son and Alia and everyone. And so I would have these classroom, kind of lessons where I would be the teacher and I'd be explaining why certain things were bad. I just always inherently knew that drugs were bad, piercings were bad. I was trying to convince everyone that all these things were bad. I was just such a goody two shoes.
Yeah.
I don't know. Looking back at it, it's so funny. But yeah, and then I smoked some weed and I finally was able to relax.
Yeah.
I drank I think it was some Hennessy in Nashville. No, whiskey, whatever, Tennessee whiskey. Yeah. And Jack Daniels. And then I remember smoking one of my grandmother's in Nashville. There was some joints rolled. I didn't know they were Primo joints.
Wow.
And I smoked one of those with my cousin and that went missing. And I was like, ooh, I kind of like that.
Yeah.
Know? So when I got back to LA, my mom knew, I ended up telling her, Mom, I smoke weed. She's like, oh, let me roll you a blunt.
She didn't even care.
No, it was let me.
Welcome.
Welcome to the club.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So what made her go to treatment? You said 2006. I got sober in 2007, by the way.
Wow. Yeah. I think she actually went in 07, 08. I don't know exactly. It might have been 08, but it was so when we were living on 39th, I had started making money in a way that you do when you're living in that kind of neighborhood.
Yes.
And I did well, but at that point, my dad's side of the family stepped in and they knew that my mom was just smoking crack in this apartment on 39th and I was just kind of running wild. I had gone to juvie and I was just, was just in this crowd.
Was it Los Padrinos?
Yeah, I went.
You went there?
Yeah, I was there.
I do a lot of peer mentoring there.
Oh, really?
Oh, I love it.
Yeah, I went there. And so they kind of intervened. They came by and they saw that my mom was smoked out and she was really skinny and it was a thing. And they told me, and at this point, I think I was like 16. My mom had this car. And so I didn't have a license, but I was allowed to drive the car. And if I gave her $20, she would go to Normandy and King, and there's a gas station there. She'd get a rock, get a beer, get her little zigzag papers. My mom didn't hit the pipe. I think that's why it took her forever to get sober. Cause she's like, I don't smoke the pipe. I roll my shit. And then when it gets cheap, I'll buy crack off the streets. But she used to buy like sacks of Coke and then rock it on a spoon and then put it in a Primo. Like she's like this bougie.
That's how she did it?
Yeah, 90s fucking. I was signed to LaFace Records.
Yeah.
Like money,
But I'm not going to smoke it out of a pipe.
Yeah.
That's what them crackheads do.
Yeah, I rock my shit up myself. So either way, so our routine was I could give her $20 and she'd give me the car. And that's how I taught myself how to drive. I'd pick up my friends, crash into shit at the Slauson Swap Meet, go, do runouts at American Apparel, runouts at Macy, whatever. Yeah. And, and growing up in the hood, it was about being fly. So everything was stolen. I didn't look like my mom was in a bathroom, for 18 hours out of the day. Like I had and a little dog too. Like it was, I was living the life. But then my grandmother and them always had to come and like try to fuck shit up. And this is why a part of my story is
what do you mean fuck shit up? In what way?
Try to like rain on my parade.
Yeah, you're already having fun.
I have this apartment. My mom's in the bathroom, but my boyfriend's living with me. Like I have all this shit I think I need. Like I'm good. And they wanted to come and like structure my things. And so they come and they're like, hey, we got you a Mini Cooper. And I'm like, oh, that's amazing. A Mini Cooper? Like they were fresh on the market, and I was never one of those girls that got something at the age of 16, 17, a car. And they were like, yeah, but here's the catch. You have to live in Rancho with us, Cucamonga.
Oh, wow.
And enroll in school.
That would be a culture shock.
And you can have the car.
Right.
And I was like, okay, bet. So I left my mom because I was like, I get the car. Like, that's cool. So I go to Rancho. I enroll in Etiwanda High School. And then I'm like, the weekend comes. I go to school for the week. The weekend comes. I'm like, oh, can I get the keys? Yeah. They're like, oh, you don't have a license. I was like, a license? Like it just did not register that I needed a license. And I felt like they fucked me. They tricked me. I couldn't believe it.
They just want to get you out of there.
Well, no, but also like fuck a license. Give me the keys. You said it was my car. Yeah. Like that's how I grew up. That was the kind of shit I was on. There was no structure. There was no like, oh, Raven, do this, do that. Like my mom let me do whatever the fuck I wanted. So I was resentful at them. I couldn't believe that they tricked me. Long story short, they enrolled me in like, so my mom is still at the house smoking crack. And I had moved and I used to help pay the rent. But I dropped Dee Dee for the car because they said I got a car. So I'm like, my money's green in Rancho. I'm going to go over here. But they start driving me to this like school to get my license. It's from like 6 a.m. It's on the weekends. 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. or something. The speed way of like getting your license. So I wasn't doing that. And so my boyfriend at the time, he would be there at 6:30 to pick me up and then drive me back to Rancho before the night was out and take me back to LA. So they were paying for the school that I never attended. And this one night I ended up getting high with him and I was just like, fuck it, don't take me back. Right. Yeah. Anyway, they put me in a system as a runaway. He ended up getting arrested for something.
You're 16 at this time?
He ended up getting arrested. I remember the police came to his house looking for me. I was hiding under his bed. Like, they didn't find me, but he ended up getting arrested. And so when the police arrested me and took me to the station, they saw that I was in the system as a runaway. And we got pulled over on Hauser in Washington. They said we looked like somebody that had stolen some sidekicks or something. So the lights are flashing in our car. At this time, I used to keep my ecstasy in a crazy glue bottle.
You had it like that?
Yeah. I used
bunch of ecstasy?
Oh my God. Tons.
Rolling around?
Yeah. I used to get it off of Garfield and whatever. It doesn't matter. But so I had the ecstasy, and so I run into the bathroom, and I put the crazy glue thing inside of me. So they pull us over at this gas station. I run inside, and I put the crazy glue thing inside of me. When I come out, everybody's cuffed on the car, whatever. So they cuff me. They're like, they go in the bathroom after me too. There's nothing in there. Take me to the station. I have these pills inside of me.
Yeah.
You know, whatever. My grandma comes to pick me up. I get home to Rancho, and my boyfriend's in jail. He's like 18 at this time. I'm 16, whatever. And I get there. I finally get the crazy glue thing out of me. And my solution is to take one. I take a pill, start thinking again. I'm like, I got to go get my boyfriend out of jail, you know?
On ecstasy.
Yeah. Like and so this is what my life was looking at.
Yeah.
Fast forward. My mom ended up in treatment this one night because I ended up, being put on probation and all this for this case. But my mom was still smoking at the apartment, and I really wanted to see my boyfriend. So I creep into my grandmother's room, and I grab the keys off her dresser, and I sneak and get in the car. And this is how selfish I've always been. Like, they say, like, I am an addict, and they say, like, this disease, like, we suffer from, like, spiritual malady, but also I think by working the 12 steps, what's been revealed to me is just how everything's about me. And I always think about myself. And although it may look like I'm doing something good for someone, it's really to get something that I want.
Yeah.
Right. So even with my mom, and back then I'm crawling on the floor to get the keys. I go see my boyfriend. He lives on the east side on like Hooper and across from Jefferson High School. I go there, I do my thing with him, and I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, okay, how can I get out of getting in trouble for stealing the car? So I go to my mom's apartment on 39th, and I'm like, Mama, we got to get you help, And within that night, she rides back with me to Rancho because like there was an eviction notice and all this, and I bring her back to Rancho with her little putt and her skinny ass and all her shit that she thought she needed because she was just so cracked out. And we get to the Rancho, and I'm like, this is why I stole the car, because I needed to bring my mom here
Back over there.
had nothing to do with that. I just knew that like if I did that, then like I wouldn't get in trouble. So that's how my mom's treatment history started. And I think when my mom finally went to treatment for the first time is when like my drug addiction really picked up.
And okay, so she went to treatment, and did she stay sober?
No, my mom has never been as bad as she was that time. So my mom, I don't know how old I think she was 36 the first time. Like in the music industry, what I'll say is like a big book is few far in between.
Yeah.
Meetings are few far in between. Like that's not really a thing, especially where I come from.
Yeah.
I'm part of the Black music industry. Like no one is interested in Bill Wilson and Dr. Bob from 1939 from Akron, Ohio, relieving them from a crack cocaine addiction, especially when you have a voice of an angel and you've made millions and millions of dollars.
Yes.
But yeah, she went, and what was the question? I'm sorry, I think I fell off my tangent that I went on. I forgot what I was. What did you say? We were going.
I can't even remember myself.
Either way, so she went to treatment, and
I asked if she had stayed sober during that time.
Yeah, no. I mean, she was just never as bad again, which like, it's funny because I think it's in the forewords where they talk about the percentages of people who stay sober, right? And like, once you come in, you kind of like get it, but you may go back out and then, you eventually
it was like 50% back then.
Yeah. So it's just, it's never gotten that bad.
Yeah.
Right? Like ever again. I think once she got some of the tenets of Alcoholics Anonymous and once there was some humility brought into her life, it was never that bad, but we never stayed sober. Like she didn't stay sober, I didn't stay sober.
Okay.
No, absolutely not.
Is she in recovery right now?
She is. She has 9 years now.
Okay.
I'm sorry to hit the mic.
That's okay. As long as you just keep speaking into the mic.
She has 9 years sober.
Okay. Now, you said at that time then you started to get into some drugs. Outside of ecstasy and weed and alcohol, did you ever become a smoker? Did you ever do coke?
I love cocaine. I love snorting cocaine.
Listen, you're Black. I'm Persian.
Yeah.
We all love. I mean, it's like our drug.
I love.
And that's why it's a lot of times when I go to lots of the cocaine-based meetings, there's a lot of Blacks.
Yeah.
Because there were so many smokers and so many people that were walking the streets for a long time that love coke.
That love cocaine.
And still do.
And also, yeah, I mean, Cocaine Anonymous was such an important group for Black people, people
Yes.
of color, and for people who smoke crack
Mhm.
because you couldn't identify as addict in AA meetings,
Right.
especially as a smoker. We're more open now,
Yeah.
but back then I couldn't imagine.
Right. So when you say when you started to love cocaine, were you snorting it? Were you
Snorting.
smoking it?
Snorting.
You didn't get into
I
smoking?
never, no, because listen, like I'm really from South Central and I really have seen what crack did to my family.
Yeah. Yeah.
And listen, if I were to relapse now, I'd probably throw the fucking towel in and say, give me a rock,
Right.
like at this point. But there was always this thing that I was unwilling to do, and that was hit a pipe, just based on family history and the traumas that I have been through behind crack.
So you knew better in that sense.
Yeah, it stole everything from us as a people.
Okay.
For a
So
long
then you got
time.
into cocaine, but was there other stuff too?
I'm a big pill addict, so I love.
So you got into the opiates.
Yeah, I was like, I'm gonna be opposite. I'm a rock star. I'm gonna, I don't know.
And when you were doing pills, were they from a doctor? Were they from the plug? Was
No,
it just
so I had been on. So I got arrested. I went to juvie, and then when I got out of juvie, I made the decision to work. Well, I had already started working at American Apparel, but I was like, you know what? Like the hood is my problem, so I'm gonna like switch it up, and I'm gonna move. And I moved to Park La Brea with a friend who was working at American Apparel.
Yeah.
And I just switched up my whole lifestyle. And I was like, I'm going to
mid-city LA style?
Yeah, I'm going to be like one of these girls. And like my problem is the neighborhood.
Yeah.
And it's the people, for sure. So I switched up my life. And when I got off probation, I had a party at Park La Brea and I invited all my friends who did drugs. And I had this one friend who worked at a pharmacy and she was stealing pills from the pharmacy. So I was like, when you come, bring pills.
Yeah.
So she, as a celebration for me getting off probation, which is insane, brought me this bottle of pills. It was like this big with all these different narcotic pills in there.
Oh my God.
We did Molly, we did MDMA. We did MDMA and some ecstasy, but at this point it was like a smooth transition and then this was the time when OCs were going out and OPs were coming in. So like, I think I was able to do just like a tiny piece of an Oxycontin before they, I took it.
Before it became the Roxys.
OPs. Well, yeah, but they were like, you remember the
OCs were the 80s, I believe.
Yeah, they were the 80s.
Isn't that right?
She's talking about the Opanas.
Oh, Opanas.
No.
Oh, you're talking about the
When they changed, so when Oxycontin stopped being made, or when that lawsuit happened, they changed them. They called them
was the
OPs.
80s.
They were 80s, but you couldn't chop them. You couldn't smoke them.
couldn't
They were
shoot 'em.
jail.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They were bullshit. So I was able to do a little oxy,
Okay.
a little real 80 before
Yeah.
that went out at my little celebration.
Yeah.
And that was
With
the-
ecstasy too?
and that was
Oh
my
my
best
God.
thinking at that point.
Right,
Like,
right.
That was the only thing in my life like that brought me any type of comfort, even from a young age, prior to anything that I had been through sexually, traumatically, my mom being a smoker, us not having the amount of money I thought we should have, her not getting famous, all these things, dad not in the picture. The only thing that allowed me to like take a deep breath was a high. So you would think it's so insane. Like I'm getting off probation and I'm like, let me have a drug party.
Yeah. And you did.
And I did.
Yeah.
And in the midst of that drug party, I found opiates, like for real.
And so when you got into opiates, was this a long addiction?
Yeah.
How long? Was it always pills?
7 years.
7 years. That's a long time.
Damn.
Was it always pills?
Like that. Yeah, no, it wasn't. It was pills that transitioned to heroin.
So you got into heroin.
I started shooting it.
You?
Yeah.
I
see my
never
track?
even knew.
And
And
I don't look like it. Huh?
no.
I know.
And was it black tar, obviously, because
Yeah,
we're on
it
the
was
West Coast?
Shiva tar.
Okay.
I
And-
never did any China white.
All right. And then how bad did it get? I mean, what made you get better? Like want to get sober?
Well, I had been, my pill addiction landed me in Cry Hell, Beit Shuva a few times.
You went to all them places.
I went to Brotman a few times, pre-heroin. Like I was
Any overdoses?
Too, but at home, never 911. Like people slapping me, putting me in water.
Yeah.
Probably been a big deal if I didn't wake up.
Mhm.
Just ended up
Yeah,
dead,
yeah, yeah.
and no 911 call. But overdoses because I started getting into GHB. That's
I
my
know
thing.
GHB all too well.
That's my thing.
Oh, I loved it. That
I
was like liquid ecstasy.
I love a G. Excuse me, I'm a G girl. And so, yeah, the G with the heroin kind of landed me in like odd situations, usually like foaming at the mouth.
Yes. Yeah.
Just it wasn't
Just
too
G'd out
cute.
on the
Just
ground.
G'd out on
Yeah,
the floor.
yeah.
I'm supposed to be there doing things I
Yeah.
ain't got no business doing, so I can keep getting the sack, but I'm out on,
Yeah. Yeah.
not a good time at the party.
Yeah.
No one wants
Did you know that when somebody overdoses on GHB, that the way to get them out of you know how they go into a heavy sleep for like a good 4 hours?
Uh-huh.
The way to get that person out, just so we all know, just in case it happens, you put sugar under their tongue. If you put
Wow.
sugar under the tongue, they pop right up out of it. It's like the Narcan for GHB.
That's
it's
good to
crazy,
know.
crazy.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's
we-
actually informative. And like, I think after this podcast episode, you should do like a little small commercial.
I wanna tell 'em
I'm
to-
giving you ideas.
Yeah, exactly. I'm gonna tell my videographer, hey, Abby, take that little portion out and put it on there.
Did you know
Yeah, did you know
that? No, seriously, you're
It's
saving
true.
lives. I didn't
Yeah.
fucking know that.
Yeah, I make
Instead-
TikToks about it sometimes.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
cool. I was like coming to with like other shit in my mouth.
Oh,
you know
I'm
what I mean?
sure. Yeah, exactly. Okay. All right. So then what?
True.
So you went to Cry Help. You went to Betshuva a few times, but it just wasn't sticking. You weren't actually staying sober.
No, I got into a point where like the only thing I could think about was getting high. My life got really small. Like it consisted of like I would wake up and I had like all this. That's why I went to the dentist today. But I had because my mom couldn't afford to take me to the dentist when I was younger. So
Yeah.
when I first started going, I had like 27 cavities.
Yeah.
And when I went, they were doing silver fillings.
Mhm.
So a lot of my teeth had that silver mercury in it. And
Yeah.
I smoked off foil
Oh.
too. So when I would smoke off foil, it caused some kind of reaction, I think. So
Yeah.
when I would wake up in the morning, I'd be in so much pain.
Mhm.
So I'd shake in pain. So I couldn't shoot yet because I would miss my vein. So I would, this was my day. I would smoke, let the pain subside,
Mhm.
then shoot, then try to take a shit,
Mhm.
and then once I was completed with that,
Yeah.
figure out where I was going to get my sack, maybe get rigs, maybe not get rigs,
Uh-huh.
you know what I mean? Figure out how people were like living, I don't know, and like where was I going to get the next one?
Yeah.
It just got very short. Or some days I would get like a chip on my shoulder and be like, I'm going to get sober today.
Yeah.
Wait out the time to take the Suboxone. And
Mm-hmm.
then like by the end of the night, once I took the Suboxone successfully,
Yeah.
shoot through the sub walls.
Oh my God.
That was the best.
I didn't know you were that bad.
That was the best I could
And
do.
these are your late 20s?
No, not late 20. I got sober at 24.
Oh, you got sober super young.
Yeah.
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 Because I know you're young right now.
I'm 33.
And how long are you sober?
9 years on the 15th of September.
Oh my God. I remember when you were like newer.
Mm-hmm.
I remember seeing you at the Masonic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You were the fruit platter
I
girl.
was a fruit platter girl and
Yeah.
then became the first female secretary.
Yeah. I love it.
Yeah.
Okay. So your final place where you went and got sober, where you stayed sober, was it in treatment or just on your own?
It was in treatment. I went to a place called Club Soba.
I know Club Sober.
Yeah, Greg Hanley.
Was
and
it
Jeff
over in,
and Megan. I went to
Malibu?
I went to Club Soba, which was in Mar Vista area.
Yeah.
The one not in Malibu.
Oh, was it? Okay, I think I know. I think I spoke one time at their house. It's like a sober living environment.
Yeah. So I went there. Prior to going there, on August 26th of 2015, that was the last time I shot heroin. I got out of Brotman. It was the 4th time in 2 months that I had gone.
Mm-hmm.
Thank God for the doctors there. Dr. Reitman, he was awesome to me. Like he fucking detoxed me so well. It was like a pheno sub taper. It was exactly what I needed. I was fucking gone. Like I
Yeah.
had to sit still.
Phenobarbital with subs.
With subs.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a great taper for me. Prior to that, I was like running. I would go to Brotman, I would throw my rigs in the trash and then run the fuck out and go get my rigs, So this was a really good one. I get out of detox and my friends are having a show. So I'm from LA.
Yeah.
You know, they're having this show, the Overdose. They're a group called Overdose, and they were having a rap show. And I'm like, I gotta go.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna take some ecstasy.
It's like when you're fresh out of treatment.
oh, yeah, fresh out of Rotman.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Wow, of
I
all
went
places.
home, got dressed, was like, I'm going to my friend's show. I actually keep the ticket from this show on my refrigerator.
Mhm.
I go there, I'm backstage, and I'm like, look, guys, I've been shooting dope. And you know, that's the other thing. Like Black people, where I come from, we don't shoot hair like that. I don't have one friend.
Yeah, it's not a typical drug that a lot of Blacks like to use. They
No.
love cocaine.
Yeah, no, and not me. Like, you know,
Yeah.
so I'm at the show, like, look, and they're like, yo, right, you know,
Yeah,
and I
yeah,
get
yeah.
high with all my friends, and I take some ecstasy, I drink some Hennessy, and the next morning I like really wanted dope, and it was like the streets were quiet and I couldn't find it, and Delana had called me. I don't know.
Hmm. Oh, I love Delana.
Delana called me. She's really close friends with my mom, and she was like, you know, Raven, I'm working at this place, and I'm like, oh yeah. She's like, yeah, it's nice. I said, nice. She's like, yeah, it's nice. If you want to come, you know, just let me know when you're ready.
And she was a therapist there.
So she made that phone call, and I'm trying to get dope, and there's no dope on the streets. Silence. And I'm like, oh my God. So I'm like, fuck it. I'll go to my doctor and I'll try to get a script for Subutex. I can at least snort that until somebody answers the phone.
Yeah.
Because I had gotten to the point that once I put anything that affected me from the neck up, I want it. Like I need it. Like there was nothing that stood between me and that phenomenon of craving. Like
Yeah.
I needed it.
Yes.
My body would ache
Yeah.
until I got it. And so, you know, I'm trying to get this Suboxone thing and it wasn't working. I'm like, fuck it, let me call Delana. So I call her. I'm like, I guess I'll come to that place. You said it was nice, right? So they get me there. I ended up finding this bottle of Valium.
Finding it?
Yeah, I had stashed it in my mom's trunk.
Oh, okay. You found it in your own shit.
Yeah, I found this bottle. And so I go to SOBA and they drug test me. And they're like, sorry, like your seizure risk. I started having grand mal seizures. And they're like, you're not allowed to come in.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh fuck. So
You
I
needed to be medically detoxed.
yeah, I get home but I just got out of detox a
Yeah,
day ago. I'm
yeah.
like, they're fucking tripping. So I get home and I find the IOP on Google and I'm like, Mama, I think you need to take me to their IOP. So I go up there the next day and this guy, Greg, that ran the facility said I begged for my life. I was high on Valium, but I was like, look, I know I'm going to shoot dope again. I don't want to shoot dope again, but I know I don't know how not to shoot dope. Can you please let me in? Turns out the Dr. Reitman that detoxed me at Brotman also oversaw SOBA.
No way.
So he medically cleared me to
Yeah, he
come
knew
in.
you.
So I come in with Valium.
They confiscated.
No, they didn't find it. I stayed high for 2 weeks at SOBA. Yeah, 2 years into my sobriety, I changed.
Was that place a detox residential? Or
They
was
had, so I was detox and then residential and then sober living. But I snuck in the
and you were
Valium.
high during detox?
Yeah, and it was actually beautiful because as soon as I got there,
Yeah.
they let us keep our cell phone. Everybody had dope. And like everybody was hitting me up like, Raven, where are you? Where are you? Where are you?
You were slinging dope in detox.
No. They had it like I could go cop it. Like finally all my dealers I check into treatment and all of a sudden the streets aren't dry anymore. Everybody's getting high and they're trying to invite me out. Like I'll send you an Uber, you know? And I'm like, nah, I'm chilling because I'm on the Valium and I hadn't put any opiates in my system. So I wasn't really tripping like that. I was coming to in the treatment center, eating goldfish and shit, sending long ass text. The Valium saved my life. In this weird way. Like I'm grateful that I had it. I probably wouldn't have sat still.
Yeah. You probably would have left.
I would have left. So I checked in there on September 4th. I only had enough. My sobriety date is September 15th of 2015.
So you made sure to start it after the Valium was done.
After
And you
2
didn't have
years.
any seizures from the Valium?
No.
coming on? No. So why did it stick this time? Like, why did you take this so serious moving forward from there?
In the beginning, I didn't take it seriously. Like I had planned a mass relapse at the treatment center and my dealer came and so they all gave me cash. So I'm the only one from LA in treatment. So like I automatically have clout.
Yeah.
You know, you look on my Instagram, you see I may know a person.
You got the local hooks.
You know, like everybody's like, oh, you know, and we were in the backyard of this like nice ass house with our cell phones and we all lock eyes. We're all heroin addicts. And I'm like, a sack? And they're like, yeah. So we piece up our money. And my manipulative ass, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to keep all the cash and I'm going to use my debit card. So my guy comes to the house. He grabs the debit card. He hits me up and he's like, your card ain't working. You always on these games. Woo, woo, woo. So We had tutors, we had foil. We were going to get high at the log cabin bathroom.
Oh my
And
God.
he didn't bring the sack. And I'm like, this fucking
You're
guy.
pissed.
I was pissed, but in that moment, but I was so tired. I was so tired. And I think that that's the reason why it stuck this time for me, because for the first time, like, I didn't have a hustle in me anymore, like a drive to go get it, a drive to run, like that. When the sack didn't come, I was like, and I'm not going to leave.
You see how everything perfectly was working out from, you almost didn't even make it in there but Delana put that marker out there.
Mm-hmm.
And you almost didn't go, but because that didn't work, and then this happened too afterwards, it's like a perfect.
Oh, it was a perfect storm for me.
Perfect storm.
And I just sat still. And a lot of people that I talk to who are addicts and alcohol, like, we all relate to this. Like, I think for me, I was just tired.
Yeah, I understand. When you're done, you're done.
I had gotten tired. And so when the sack didn't
And it's so young too, at 24.
Yeah, man, because also, like, I was going to have to start doing some things I didn't, I knew I was going to have to do, like shooting dope. Like, I didn't have no body. Like, I wasn't looking that great.
Yeah.
Like, no one was just throwing me a sack.
Yeah.
Like, I had to figure it out, and I was just really tired. And so it didn't come. I ended up in sober living, and I knew I was going to get high again. Anyway, even though I was tired, I knew I was going to get high again. And I finally asked someone to sponsor me. And because my mom had been in and out of the rooms, like, I knew good. Like, I grew up South Central District, Cocaine Anonymous. I grew up Fellowship of the Spirit. I grew up Midnight Mission, Truth on Skid.
So you already had a taste of
like,
recovery.
And I knew people were staying sober.
Yes.
I had been in and out of the rooms for a long time, taking commitments, not really doing
even before that, you were doing all that.
Oh, yeah. I was a secretary of a meeting on Olympic, high on Adderall the whole time.
Oh, my God.
Like, I've been all throughout. I've been like district level shit. I'm going to district meetings and then having my friends blow the weed smoke in my face after the meeting. My life was not important.
Yes.
The only thing that I cared about was the effect produced by drugs and alcohol. I needed ease and comfort. I hated the way that I felt.
Yes.
Super existential crisis. I had no purpose. And also, yes, things had happened to me, but I would always pick up. And once I picked up, I couldn't stop.
Right.
And that was just my story.
It's a hell of a story.
So finally, I get to this place. I'm in the treatment center. I'm under my covers. I'm feeling so uncomfortable, kind of like the day that I wanted to cop and none of my dealers were answering.
Yeah.
And I asked God to help me. Like, from this place of, like, have you taken acid?
Yes.
Okay, so like when you're crying on acid, or you're listening to like probably a Prince song, and you're like, oh my God, he's an angel, he's like, he sings directly for that choir in heaven, From that place, I asked something to help me.
Had you believed in God growing up?
Everybody else is God, but I had never had an experience with a God. But everybody, I had dealers that would say, you need to find God,
Wow.
Like, if you found a God, like, I just didn't understand. And everybody had said that this power, this thing, if you build a relationship with it, you might get free. And I said, well, fuck it. Who am I not to try?
Right.
Because I'm looking at the evidence, and the evidence shows that, like, all my family's ended up dead. Everybody's in jail. Everybody's addicted to drugs. And it seems to me that this one thing they haven't tried is maybe working
recovery.
12 steps.
Yeah.
Recovery.
Yeah.
So I was like, fuck it. I'll give these white boys a shot.
You mean Bill and Bob.
Uh-huh.
These 1939 Ohio fellas.
Let me give them a shot and see what's up. And then I don't know. I started representing a new hood. No,
That's right.
Yeah, pretty much. And I asked this man to sponsor me. Actually, Lauren's husband. Actually, I don't know if we're allowed to crosstalk.
Lauren.
That's who my sponsor.
That's the one she was just saying ended up getting sober.
That's who sponsored me.
Really? Nice.
I liked him. I liked that he had paid all his child support back. I liked that he was in school. That, I picked sponsors for different reasons in the past. This is my first time picking a sponsor based on character.
Oh.
Because I knew I had character issues. And that I was manipulative.
That's very meaningful. That matters.
That I was manipulative and I wanted to change. And so he had paid all his child support back. He was in school getting his master's. He always read with people and met with his sponsees. He always picked up the phone. He rode the bus until he got a car.
Humbling.
He did certain things that I was unwilling to do, and that he made me, the God in him made me willing to do. And then also he didn't do drugs anymore. And that's what I wanted, you know, and it helped too that, you know, he was black and he was half Jewish and black. And I was like around all the Beit Shuva people. So I
Yeah.
really think cause you know, I'm from this, started in the fledgling society. It's like an AA fellowship.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, he was like the black guy there. So I was like, and so he says that I asked him to sponsor me.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he offered to help me. He was like, if you need to talk or need help,
Yeah.
like, you know, I'm around. So I called him and I was like, hey, I'm gonna get high again. Like, can we meet? We met at a diner on Santa Monica and he asked me, you know, A, B, and C pretty much. It's in the big book. I'm like a paraphraser, but God can and will if he's sought or whatever.
We're sought, yeah.
He asked me these questions and I said yes to all of them pretty much. And then we started an inventory because we were already in a big book workshop, but I stopped going to the big book workshop and just started working with him. And I said, okay, I'll give it you know, I was in sober living by the beach.
Yeah.
And, you know, when everybody was going to the beach, I was writing inventory.
Seriously.
Yeah. Like I was like, okay, I'm really going to try.
You were about this.
Well, yeah. And then also I have an ego and I was at a fucking 0. Like I went from being this girl to like, anybody got a dub? You know what I mean? Like that shit was like a lot for me. But I knew that I wasn't going to get to where I wanted to go in my life if I didn't start from the bottom. And I really, really, really had to try. Like I'm talking, I had a 2-year non-operational on my car. I had no bank accounts. Like, you know, I had no money. I had nothing, you know? I mean, I started riding the bus. I started getting jobs.
Seriously? You did what you didn't want to do?
I did everything I didn't want to do to get to where I'm at today.
And usually it's the things that we consider in early recovery as being inconvenient to actually be the most humbling things that change us. When we start giving ourselves to the things we don't want to do, then everything seems to work out even better than what we expected.
Absolutely. And that's kind of what happened for me. My feet started moving differently. Gabe said, like, when I would call him, he'd be like, hey, Gabe, is it A, B, or C? You know, as a question. He'd be like, it's D. And I'd be like, fuck it, it's D then. Like, I had ran out of all ideas. I knew that left to my own devices, I would pick up again. And I was willing to give this recovery thing a shot just to see if it would work. Just to see. You know, fuck it, why not? Yeah.
Man.
Yeah.
It's what a miracle. I mean, what a story. Where you been, what you done, how you lived, all of it.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
The good, the bad, the ugly, and now look at you.
Yeah.
33 years old, and you really wear your sobriety well on your sleeve.
Thank you.
I mean, I see it. I've always admired you. Even in the beginning, I used to, when I first saw you, I thought, she looks like she's like on fire for this. Plus the group that I would go, because I only popped in here and there.
Yeah.
But I knew him.
Yeah.
And his movement and what he had started with his big book study and all that.
Yeah.
We were friends in that sense. But when I saw you, I thought, she's special.
Thank you.
I hope she sticks around.
Thank you.
And you did.
I did. And, you know, I think it's mostly because I'm supposed to help.
That's what it's all about. If we don't, then what?
Especially the young ones, right?
That's right.
I mean, hey.
Because you're still young.
I'm still young. I got sober young.
Yeah.
And if there's anything that I've gone through, it's just so I can really be a resource for another young person that doesn't think abstinence is possible.
Before we close out, there's something that we were talking about before we started to record. You had mentioned about people that you've known in recovery that had some time that relapsed, and you don't look at relapse you love them. Tell me why that is.
I think because I learn from people, and I just think, you know, I used to say all the time that Ebby Thatcher was my favorite person.
He did the 12-step call in the first place to Bill.
To Bill.
And he wasn't even part of AA.
No, but he had a hard time staying sober.
He did. As a matter of fact, he didn't stay sober for a long time, but he ended up dying. It's my understanding, 2.5 years of sobriety.
Yeah.
So he came back, but he 12-step Bill in the first place.
Yeah.
And I got a guy right now that I work with that has fallen down and gotten up and fallen down. Do you know that this guy has taken people through the steps in the past who all stayed sober? So he was instrumental. He was a vessel for them.
Exactly.
But even though he kept going back out, and he still comes back and keeps trying.
And I think I relate to humility.
Oh.
I think because of what I've gone through in my life and the darkness that I've seen and what I've overcome based on, like, I don't know, my childhood, my race, all
Yeah.
of the things. Like, I don't come from a place where I kick people when they're down.
Oh, never.
You know, I love
Never.
to lift people up, and the people that I looked up to will remain my giants, even if they've picked up.
Yeah.
You know, and I love to hear their message, and I think that they have a lot that they can share. I don't ever want to be in a place where I think I've got this.
Oh, never.
Never. So
Yeah.
if I can hear from a person who had 20 years or 30 years and went out,
Mhm.
I want to hear why, what,
I
how.
always do that. Always. I want to see, well, what happened?
And
I
tell
gotta know,
me.
so I gotta know.
Tell me, please.
Yeah, and usually what they tell me, like I'll say, like what, there's-
Stop going to meetings.
not just that,
What?
stop working with others, but the relationship with a higher power was diminished or was never really actually there.
Yeah, because what? The ego rebuilds itself.
That's right.
And when
I
you,
always say the disease sleeps with one eye open.
Hello.
And it's just waiting for you.
I mean, let's talk about this. Until I was 5 years sober, I didn't realize I was an alcoholic.
Right. You
I
didn't.
thought
Oh,
I
I
was-
remember. You didn't want to. You told me. You said
I
you
was
know.
on gag order.
Yeah,
My
yeah.
sponsor told me not to talk because I was confused. I thought I was a junkie.
Yeah.
And that, you know, I used to tell this story of like, well, my mom used to say it and I just copied her. Like, oh, I'd move the couch for, you know, a sack of dope, but not the couch for the bottle.
Right.
Whatever. My mind had convinced me that I didn't have a relationship with alcohol.
Right. But you quickly diagnosed yourself. Oh, it took 5 years. It took 5 years.
The mind.
Yeah.
You know, it's subtle.
Yeah.
And, you know, and once again, the big books come alive for me in a different way.
It always does.
It
You
always
can keep going
does.
through it.
I may not have to drink again.
May not.
We'll see.
Or do H.
Or do heroin.
Or C or anything.
Or, yeah, I mean, shit, this fentanyl. Do you know that? So junkies now, if you do fent, it's called, you gain 50 pounds. It's called the Fenty 50. Junkies are overweight now.
Mm.
Yeah, they're not like skinny. The fentanyl puts weight on you.
Wow.
Yeah, it's called the Fenty 50, and you start like exploding.
Oh, you mean like they get swollen?
Yeah.
I've seen it. And that's the trank. The trank is really messing
The train,
people.
yeah, and Kensington and stuff like that.
Not just Kensington.
Is here
MacArthur Park.
Oh,
There was a
shit.
kid I was trying to do an intervention on last year. He's like, I don't do that stuff. I see other people doing the trank. This year, I went to see him again recently. He's doing it too. I mean, you can't really like avoid. That's
Well,
what's
but you
out
know-
there.
Yeah, you can't just get no tar, some Frank Lucas shit. I was watching American Gangster and they were like talking about the blue magic and how pure it is
Yeah, yeah.
for the cheap price. I'm like,
Yeah.
where's that at?
No, if they had it these days, it's going to have fentanyl in it for sure because that's all everything's just cut with the fenny.
Yeah, it's insane. So thank God I zoom away from the Fenty. I did fentanyl if I knew it was fentanyl, you know.
Right, right.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, this has been a pleasure to have you on. I was going to ask you if you could put some good energy out in the universe, especially for people that are struggling or newcomers or anybody out there the young people for sure. Just tell them something good. A little call to action.
If you're struggling, reach out. Know that nothing that you're going through is big enough to not handle or come back from. There's no shame in this game, especially in Alcoholics Anonymous, Cocaine Anonymous, Heroin Anonymous, Narcotics Anonymous. Anything that you've been through, we're here for you. And even if you don't fuck with those fellowships, you can call us.
That's right.
And we're here to fuck with you. Okay, thank you.
Spoken like a true gentle woman. Okay, so this has been another episode of Peggy's Recovery Corner. Please, if you want to subscribe, go on YouTube, find us there. It's under Peggy Interventions. You can push subscribe, you can like it, and you can please send some comments. We'd love to hear from you. Let's interact together and share it everywhere. We just want to try to save as many lives as we can until we meet again.
If you're struggling or having issues, we're not a place or a people that will ever shame you. We're here to help. Please reach out to us. If I can get sober, I know you can too. We're just one call away. Thank you.